look at this. We're going to have ourselves a show today. Yeah. All right. Hey, let's draw some comics. Okay. Enough of the Al Pacino. Hi, guys. Hope everybody's having a good day. Or should I say, I hope everybody's having a good day. Anyways. So just sitting here chillaxing. Corbin was here harassing me a second ago, but decided, hey, if he's going to be noisy, I'm leaving. I'm leaving. So he did. Today's page is the suggestion from yesterday's 3-Prompt Tuesday, which was a costume that came from Chris. Red Cross came from Miriam, and Miriam also suggested boat. And I said, well, maybe somebody else wants to try. And my son calls me on the phone and says, hey, I suggest boat. So now we got 3 character. I love them. So, yeah, so that's our 3 words that we did for yesterday's page. I had a little bit of fun with that, making a kid have to drag a wooden boat around as a costume. It's just mean, man. Anyways, so yeah, it was good fun. It was I did this page in mixed media, pen, watercolor, on jelly plated paper, and there's a great deal of benefit to plating paper. It's a fun process. If you're not aware of what it is, I highly suggest you look it up. But for me, it means I can use this complex amount of, painted information on the surface and do a page over top. So, hey. All right. So let's switch up the old Kamarooski to the overhead and let's get crack-a-lack-a, what shall we? I'm missing stuff. Oh, it's Jim. Hiya, Jim. Welcome aboard. How are you today, sir? And hi to everybody else that's joined us. Feel free to make comments. Feel free to engage and make some suggestions as we go along. You're more than welcome to. If you've got art projects you're working on, you want to tell people about, let us know. I'm not a guy who wants people to sit here just blagging all their different rando website crap, but I got this website that does this and this website that does that. I don't care. But if you're working on a fun thing, please let us know. Other artsy types want to support you. So, Jim, have you got an episode of, hey man, how's your movie going? Coming up, if you do, let us know. I've really enjoyed Jim's work, and I'm really looking forward to Jim's next project. So, a lot of fun in the sun. If you haven't had a chance to check out Jim's animation work, please do so. I think you'll love it muy mucho. Okay, so today's page. I'm just gonna grab the Post-it out of the book. I got 2 here, I guess. I don't know how to describe it, but I'll know it when I see it. Or the world explained from a point of view that is not obvious. I'm not sure if I did that one. I feel like I did. I don't know. You're getting a little involved when you can't remember all the things you did. And sometimes when you don't check them off, you do it yourself. Well, why don't we try? I don't know how to describe it, but I'll know it when I see it. That sounds like a thing. So I'll just type that into the chat. I'm going over here. And we'll see what we can do. I am a terrible typist. I'm Mr. Typo. And, hunt and pecker. That's me. I don't use all my fingers. I only use like half of them because these are all crooked business, but, So there's our suggestion for today. Bingo. All right. Corbin, you got anything to add? No? He's just chilling, doing his own thing. Okay, so here's our suggestion for today. I have no idea what to do with this. Now, I got a DM. That's short form for direct message. I'm so cool. I know all the lingos. I got a DM about about how do you go through some of the processes putting together comic pages per se, like specifically comic pages, right? And so I thought we'll play a little bit with that today. Let's switch this up. Hi, Miriam. Welcome aboard. Hi, Didi. Welcome aboard. Didi had a stream this morning. If you get a chance, look at her stream where she had her daughter and her granddaughter on, and it was a riot. Absolutely fantastically fun. So get a chance to check that out. Okay, so yeah, for those of you that missed the opening, we put the intro up, and the show today was introduced by Al Pacino. So it's good to know people, I guess. Trying to adjust my crazy camera. There, it's all adjusted on me. So we've been renovating our house like crazy, and finally embracing being, parents with kids have all moved out, and so we've painted the whole house at this point, and we've moved our room up to the main floor, and all kinds of stuff, but just complete upheaval in the household. And it's funny, the subtlest things, you just nudge a camera, you nudge a this, or you put something in the wrong room and can't remember where you put it. You're getting old. Dee says, yeah, we have fun. Yeah, that was a lot of fun this morning. Get a chance, check it out. 3 generations of crafters. And Dee says that when her grandmother and mother were with us, that they would have 5 generations. I'm like, that's too much. It's too much. That's too much zaniness and fun and creativity in my family. You gotta stop. Stop. You gotta produce some accountants, would you? We got enough accountants out there. Okay. All right. So today's suggestion is what I posted a few minutes ago. I don't know how to describe it, but I'll know it when I see it. So, yay! So I have no idea what to do for this. I don't know how to describe it, but I'll know it when I see it. So I'm going to walk you through a couple of fast processes, right? I got a red paper mate pen. And so when you're trying to figure out an idea for a page, one thing that you can do. Now, traditional pages are drawn in portrait style, and portrait style is upright. Okay? And I'm drawing in landscape style. So, I'm already going to switch it up on people. But when you've got an idea, or if you've got a layout for a page, ideally, if you have a script or something like that, you're good to go. But one of the things you can do is, in a really loose form, break down some ideas about what to do with it, right? What is it? How to describe it? I'll know it when I say it. I got to write it down here because, yeah. Also, we got snow. Last night we had Halloween. This morning we had snow. It's like the weather just said, all right, we'll hold off for one more day. So now this morning I had to clean off the van. It had ice on it. What? Last night we had a pumpkin lit up on our front porch and our door, and we're handing out candy and books. That's right. I give out books on Halloween. I'm a monster. Okay. So don't know how to describe it, but I'll know when I see it. So one of the perspectives that we can do is, let's say, a narrator's first-person perspective. So if we think about introducing right off the hop a narrator figure, okay, jibber-jabbering in the first panel. So this is breaking down the bones of a story, the bones of a page, right? So we can have a shot of them talking. We can open that shot up into, here's our person explaining it to another, sitting in a chair, and he's, lots of talking with the hands. Yes, sir. Oh, Corbin would like to say hi. Yes? Did you want to say hi? No, he's already distracted. Okay, so here he is talking, and here's another person sitting across from him. I don't know, Mike Douglas? Who knows who it is? But You can even have the legs crossed. What? So, do you want me to move stuff so you can sit closer? Would that help you? Such a drama queen. Anyhow. So here's our other person sitting across from them. And is that one good? You like that? Okay. And so then our next, I don't know how to describe it, but I'll know it when I see it. We've almost incorporated that. Dee Dee says hi, Corbin. Dee Dee says hi. He says hi back. Okay, so don't know how to describe it, but I'll know when I see it. So he's saying this in the first two panels, and then I mean, we can do this a couple of ways. We can have this as talking heads. So Mike Wallace does this. Well, what exactly are you trying to describe to us, right? And then we can get into our guy describing, in some sort of animated way, that it was gigantic and huge, on the show. Okay, you like that, Bill? Yeah, good to see you too, pal. All right, so. And then we can get into the narrative of whatever it is and then have a resolution to it, right? Always got to think about those resolutions and tying things up in some sort of way. So there's one approach. There's our interview approach. We'll write that down as our first notion of how to break down this story. Next, you got an idea? No, just let's have two FBI agents. I don't know. Two FBI agents standing here in a doorway. And here's a lady in front of them. Okay? She's in her door, and we're seeing her from the back. All right? Open panel, because, why not switch panels up and play? Okay? So here she is from the back. We'll have her arms crossed as though she's got her arms like this in front of her. Whoa! You all right? Sorry, bud. Were you leaning on my arm that much? Okay? Yeah, I moved my arm and he went flying. You okay? All right. So, we can then cut into a short panel of, the second guy is a little shadowed out, but our first guy looking over to the left or something, as he says, you want to tell us what happened, And then we'll have the lady, cut the camera around so that we've got the lady around in this third panel looking up at them. And we'll put that line down to match this one. Put this line to match this foot placement, just so that there's some continuity to move the eyeball along, right? Miriam says, my dogs are already used to Corbin. They didn't bark this time. Well, there you go, pal. You can meow all you like. Your dogs won't bark. Okay? Okay. So here's the lady, looking up and up chatting. Okay? And, that's another way to introduce us into the narrative of whatever that it is and, trying to describe it to these other people. And that's, so that's a different approach. And then, of course, we've got all of this space to get into the structure of whatever it is that she's describing. And, at the end of this story, we could have, let's say, we've got a car here as it's driving off. Poop, 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 poop. There's a little smoke out of the back. And there's your farmhouse. And, I don't know, something sticking out of the roof. Whatever. But, the agents can say, ma'am, you're coming with us. We're going to have to talk about this downtown. Oh, dear. Oh, my. Handcuffs. Okay, so there's our third panel of guy cuffing her and the other guy watching, whatever. So there's a second approach. Corbin just texted me. He wants my social security number. Would you stop that? I don't know what he needs it for, Jim. Just ignore it. Stop texting people about their security numbers. It looks all cute and innocent, but my cat, he's dangerous. Just know that. Just be aware. Okay, so there's our interview. There's our FBI story. Don't know how to describe it, but I'll know it when I see it. So let's try with this one. We'll do an open face panel like this one, but let's tighten up on the form, give it a little more dramatic intensity as the person is moving and searching through a space. And we'll have a big stack of magazines. I don't know. Why not? Newspapers? Who cares? And junk and bottles. There's a show that Lori watches on YouTube. It's this, I don't know if she's Norwegian or Russian, but she's this lady who cleans these apartments for people that are clearly in need of a little bit of additional assistance and self-care. And because these places are all terrible. And it drives me a little crazy, but I also find it really funny, is that she says, look at all of the bottles in this place. Not a single bottle in sight. It's entirely cans. But she calls them bottles. And I pray, hope, and dream that no one contacts this person and explains the difference. Because she does it every video. And in my opinion, that's grand. That's funny. Okay, so here's our shot of all of our piles of things that this person is sorting through. If we want to get even deeper down the hole, what are you knocking off? We want to get even deeper down the hole, we can put more stuff in front of them just to enhance the fact that this place is full of clutter. So much clutter that if they had a cat like Corbin, he'd knock it off their desk on purpose. And then the second person we can introduce here in the space with them. And so that gives us the confines of a room. And so here's where everything's taking place and all this stuff is being looked for amongst the refuse and the clutter. What? Stop. So we can put up some shelving units. You can fill those with all kinds of jazz. And, whatever. It doesn't matter. You can get that complexity down. You're just roughing out the ideas here. So in this one, it's this person's looking for something. They don't know how to describe it, but they'll know it when they see it. So, now you've got a conversation. And conversations are really great for breaking down ideas like this, because not only is it just, the fourth one we'll do without a conversation between two people. But when you have two people involved in a situation like that, it really lets you sort of have one person operate as the person prodding for more information and the other person giving the reader the information. What color is it? I think it's blue. Well, what shape is it? I think it's round, and is it a ball? No, it's not a ball, so you can get so much stuff out of that. Miriam says, don't give Corbin your social security number. He asked for mine yesterday, cloned my credit card, and bought a pair of boots. Are you a cat in boots now? I'm pretty sure that's what the story's called. Anyways, that's, as long as he doesn't buy a rapier, we're all okay. Okay, so the other person, so we cut in on the other person, bring them up a little bit larger, and have their hands out like, what is it? And again, you could put all kinds of business around them as well. But again, we can change up the shape of the panel by boxing theirs in like we did before. We can get cheeky in order to continue to push the idea of all this volume of junk surrounding them by having some of this stuff break outside the panel, right? And then we can cut in on a close-up of our person again who says, and have them dramatically turning back to look at their friend. So it's giving us, it's reinforcing this perspective that they're looking back to their friend, they're in front of them. So you can have them look over the shoulder and they say, I don't know how to describe it. I'll know it when I see it. Okay, and then that way it sort of gives, there's the opportunity to introduce the story point. So it's kind of fun this way, to build up story ideas this way. And then so, we can have this other person, and again, you can portray so much personality by what they're doing with their hands. So if this other person is holding something up with their hand, and they're not sure what this is, do you want me to help? And they don't want to help. So they can have that face of dissatisfaction on. So help, right? I'll know it. So there's our breakdown. And of course, the rest of it is drawing, them finding the thing. We're here looking for that, so you can just shape up the story in that way and then chase around different shapes for the panels. But the whole point of this is that we're starting here, moving along to here, moving us back to there, where we're moving along to here, and it works like so. Okay? So the fourth one, let's have from a single participant in this page. Okay, Judy's laughing at Jim. All right. So 2 people, 3 people, 2 people, right? Now that's not to say that what's described here and here, and then what's described here doesn't involve more individuals or more scenarios, or what's happening here is more than just these 2 looking amongst the refuse. That's the sort of stuff, that's the sort of secret sauce that lets you, go wild. You got to give yourself a framing structure, but then give yourself the opportunity to have some part in this narrative that you're crafting where you give yourself a little bit of flex space. Because in the process of drawing these first few panels, who knows, something really sideways might come to you. Yesterday's suggestion was costumes, Red Cross, and boat. Now, okay, it's Halloween. That's why we got costumes. So I start drawing a page about kids dressed up in their costumes and trick-or-treating. And then I draw one kid looking dissatisfied. Well, he's dissatisfied because his dad made him a boat costume. And he's got to drag this around all Halloween night. And it's made out of wood, and it's really heavy, and he barely got any candy because he was so slow-moving, despite the fact he was a speedboat. Just it's a random story direction. Kids in costumes and going to the door. And it can go anywhere at that point. But by having one kid that incorporates another one of the suggested words, like he could have been dressed up as a Red Cross ambulance, right? That would have worked too. But boat was there, so we went with that. But he had to get taken away in the Red Cross thing. When I was coming up with this idea, once I'm halfway through the top of the page, what I had in my mind is that this kid's going to throw his back out, dragging this boat around, and when the Red Cross picks him up, because it's told through the perspective of a kid, he's got to go to the hospital to get a backdectomy. Which is a funny notion in my head that he would describe fixing his back as a backdectomy because he heard about some other kind of backdectomy from somebody else in his life. I dropped it because backdectomy, it's one thing to hear it. It's another thing to have somebody have to read it, right? So, by the way, Chris, I'm really enjoying your shorts on YouTube. Really well put together. Oh, thanks, Jim. That's very nice. Yeah, appreciate that. There's no right way of saying I'm enjoying your shorts. I think you did great. The problem is that when we type things, we can't control how people read them. So sometimes people take breaks. It's like, by the way, Chris, I'm really enjoying your shorts on YouTube. Right? Yeah. I'm enjoying your shorts on YouTube. Yeah. Thanks, Jim. I appreciate it. What a way to spoil a compliment. I'm so sorry. Corbin, he likes our work. back to sleep. All right, so he's not in camera, so you can't see his reactions. Corbin usually looks at me like you're a lunatic. Miriam says, just wait for the long ones. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we got a bunch of stuff that we're working on now. I've got a slightly longer one that involves the zine swap, and I'm just going through the zine swap, talking about how fun that is, and hey, get involved in one, you know. Anyways, and others. A day in the life of Corbin's coming up. Yeah. Okay. So the first one is an interview, two people talking. The second one is the FBI investigation, and it's two FBI agents talking to this little old lady in a cottage or in a farm. Not sure yet. We'll figure that out as we go. And the third one is two people looking for something in a room that is completely full, probably like a hoarding room, right? So the fourth one, we can have a person. You know, let's go back to a panel. Let's put them in a panel. But because we've got open face panel, we got broken panel, we've got solid panel. Okay? So we can either do it one of two ways. We can have any one of these things, right? Hi, everybody. I'm going to class. I'll see you tomorrow. Hey, good to see you, Chris. Have a good day, class. And a reminder, Chris will be with us on the 20th this month. Okay, so in this last one, let's have a person, and they're standing here with their arm on their hip, okay, and their other arm is extended over their head as they're scratching the back of their head, okay, and you know, there's a little tiny panel behind them that really doesn't make any sense, but that's okay. So we're taking this notion and this notion and pushing it a little bit farther. All right. So here's a person trying to remember. We'll call this one. So here's a fourth perspective on the same story node. So if they've got themselves looking around, and then we can, this one is, you know, lots of expressions. Like here's kind of a face that they've got on as they're still in this position here, but we'll lock this up in a smaller panel, and then we'll turn the next panel. And so we're going to play with a lot of small panels as this person's going through their thought process. So here's a side shot of their head as they're looking this way. And then at this point, we can have that hand coming off the head, right? And then let's pop up once more to the same height as this one, so that when we come down again for the last on this top row, it gives us a sense of movement that makes our viewer's eye do this, which is easier to do that. If we went upwards, because this slope here moves upwards in between this panel and that panel, then it's almost like when you're here's an old thing. If you're typing on an old typewriter and you get to the end of your sentence, you got to slide it back to the row, to the next row. And if you didn't do this while you're typing, you would just type on the same row again. So thankfully, typewriters got better, and eventually now we just have computers and tablets and whatnot that none of this matters anymore. But that's used to be what would happen. The problem is, as you're in the flow of typing and you're writing a story or whatever it is, when you get to the end of that sentence, or you get to the end of that row, especially if it's a mid-sentence, and you've got to adjust the carriage and slide it back over, very easily people can lose their train of thought. It was a problem. A friend of mine who's just a slight bit older that used to use typewriters all the time as a writer, he would express that to me. It was when word processors kicked in, he loved it because no longer was his train of thought getting interrupted by having to slide the carriage back across the page. Visual sequential storytelling works the same way. If people's mind makes a hiccup of going up here and going, where do I go? then there's a break in their train of thought. And we want them to keep that. So we'll make these panels move down like so. Because in the Western world, we move from top left to bottom right. And if we're going to have in two levels, we need to slide that carriage without them consciously knowing it. So trying to remember, right? I don't know how to describe it, but I'll know it when I see it. So now we've got them looking down. They've got both hands on their hips at this point. Now we know they're seriously struggling for an idea. And this is where you can introduce a second person, step into the room and say, what are you doing? Right? I don't know, have them holding a dishcloth because they were in the kitchen doing dishes while this other person was fumbling around in the dark. Which is where I should probably say, hello, Lori. Yes. She'll have to look at her room. What are you doing? I'm like, I forgot why I came in here. There's a reason for that. I'll explain in a minute. And then we can have, again, to show additional confusion, we can now have our character look this way, and for whatever reason. And this person can get closer and say, hey, dum-dum, what are you doing? So, and this is where our line comes out, I don't know, right? And then this becomes so we've got our conversation here about what are we searching for? Can I help you search for it? Can you describe it at all? Can you give me some kind of clue? Maybe we should clean this place and we could find it then, that kind of a conversation. And this is a similar vein of it being a conversation, except for we can do a turn of expectation on this, where the other person turns about and walks back out of the room. We have a person, well, let's have them looking up. We've had them looking down. We've had them looking this way. We've had them looking diagonally. So now we'll have them looking up for whatever reason, just because, again, if it's me, it's an nincompoop. And I don't know, he's looking up at the ceiling and saying, whoa, take a look at that. There's the roof. Anyways, so this person leaves, okay, and walks out of the room, looking back and saying, hey, you'll find it. So they're on their own, right? And, I don't know, there's two ways we can do this. We can have them go, just one more shot of the hands on the hips, right? Let's do that. Look out at the viewer, straight forward into the lens as though to involve the participant viewer. And then throw their hands in the air. Wave them like they just don't care. You're welcome. I did that for you. What did I come in here for? It's okay. I'm just exclaiming like it's on the page. So he's like, wah! Like this, and we can have a bump a shelf or something, okay? And something falls to the ground, thump. And then have him look down. The next panel. Yes, what do you need? No, you can't sit there. Just sit down. So if he doesn't get his way immediately, he decides to start looking at my arm. Awkward, dude. And then have him hold it in his hand. Here's the object. Nice. Thumbs up. So there's another way to go about it. There's not so much mystery in this one. Ridiculous. I got, till tomorrow, CK, bye CK. Are there any plans for homemade commercials? Yes. Yes, we're working on a couple of those as well. All of this really is me gathering up some stuff and us taking a little bit of silly footage of different things. Like I've been collecting random little snippet videos of Corbin doing different random things. And that'll be our What's Corbin Doing Today video, or I've got a video of me doing stuff in the house here that's going to be a short commercial selling an absolutely stupid product. But, you know, hey, maybe I'll have to get Jim involved in that process. Maybe if you're up for that. I've also got thoughts to do something with Mr. Paul Pate. Just waiting to talk with him a little bit about that, a little more. So lots of fun. Is there anything of these 4 suggestions? Now, just because I rounded this one out more doesn't make it any more particular than the others. Bear that in mind, because you get a little more input into these ones with those open spaces. But is there anything amongst those that are viewing right now, of the 4 that we've sort of explored, that might be of some interest to them? This, by the way, this breaking down process is kind of what my brain is doing as I start a page, as I start thinking about some story ideas and where to take each suggestion. This is a little bit of what's going on behind the curtain. Is that I'll think, oh, I could do it like this. Oh, I could do it like that. Or I could do it like this, as I'm working on that first panel. Now, you notice with each of the first panels, there's an introduction of a principle, whether it's the contextual scene, whether it's the contextual narrative, like the context of the story, or the principal character. I'll always try to get one of those things across in those first images. And I always need some kind of resolution by the end of the page. When we editorialize a page like this, you really need to have sort of some kind of level of summation. It doesn't mean it's the end of the complete story. You could have somebody looking for an object, like the MacGuffin it's called. Hitchcock would say everybody's in pursuit of an object. You don't even need to show the object. But you could have a page start with these people meeting and saying, so have you found it? Well, it's over at this place. The jungles of Borneo. I'll get us tickets. There's the end of the page, because that's the end of an action. And so a single page can serve that purpose. Would it be more interesting to have them, get onto a chartered plane and land in Borneo and get a truck and drive into a jungle? Yes, it would mean a lot smaller panels and a lot more numerous panels on a single page. But by allowing yourself to really look into a moment, an action in and of itself per page, it gives you the facility to ingratiate the reader with more about the characters, with more about the arduousness of the objective of finding the item. It gives you a little bit more to, draw time on an airplane, to draw the jungles of Borneo, to draw them talking to the man that's going to be their guide in his Jeep, But ideally, whatever you're trying to get across on a page, whether it's somebody being interviewed in a studio trying to describe an experience, or the FBI interviewing a person at a farm and it ending with them getting, escorted elsewhere, or somebody looking for something in a hoarder's apartment, or a person just trying to figure out where he left something in the house and then eventually bumping into a shelf that falls on the ground. Ha! I've done it. Didn't do anything. He knocked into it and it fell on the ground. But so there's a different tone to that one, as there's a different tone amongst each of them. This could be about, UFOs. This could be about, I don't know, anti-government people, right? There's hoarder looking for something stupid, or a guy who, who's overly congratulative to himself for not finding a thing that he thinks he's found by bumping into it. So, you could do this one funny. You could do any of these funny is the point. You could do any of these as dark and mysterious. You could do any of these as extremely dramatic. None of these ideas are lockstepped into a specific kind of tone. So when we think about story making, that's what it gives us next. Does anybody have a specific one they like? Let me know. I'll give you a few seconds for that if you want to type down which one of the 4 you like. And while that we're doing that, I'm going to put up a video of Corbin. Ready? Here's our latest Corbin video. Enjoy. Corbin says good afternoon as well. Anything else you want to tell him? Yeah, he hopes you're having a good day. Okay, let's switch to the old Kambarooski. Hey, look at us. What are you doing? Can you see him? Corbin and I are sitting in the studio hanging out, ready to get some work done. And how was your weekend? Did you have a good one? Yeah, he said it's all right. That's good. That's nice to hear. What did we do this weekend? I think his moving around is in order to signal that we moved the house around. No? Okay. Well, you're a complete movie star now. Man, oh man, he's going to get a huge ego. Anyhow, we've been to, Judy says, ha ha, Corbin. We've got 2 of those done now, and we've got a little setup. I got a little idea for how to go about doing Corbin videos now. So we've got a standard way of doing it where I try to translate his thoughts. Yeah, exciting stuff. Okay, so we've got 4 to choose from. I don't know. I don't know which one to do. I'm just going to pick one at this point. Okay. Interview, FBI, looking for something. Let's do that one. That's really complicated. That's the really complicated one. Okay, so of these 4 things, we have got the breakdown, the layout of these various different story approaches that we can take to something. Okay, but we're just going to focus on this one. So now we've taken, this is just regular typewriter paper I'm using here, folks. All right, so now we've got a couple of ways that we can approach this. We can, there's 2 things you can do. You draw it really loosely. You can do it really loosely. You can do it like really scribbly kind of a thing and find all the dimensions and perspectives. Or you can draw it very tightly and straight ink on this page. It's up to you. You can still straight ink on this page if you put loose scribbling down first. There's an artist that I would suggest you take a look at, like his name is Karl Kapiski, where he does really, really loose drawings of people and they're very much like this. And then he just comes in with the ink and he just draws the ink over top. So, okay, so we're going to follow that kind of an idea. The other thing you can do, because you're using typewriter paper, is that as you scribble on this piece of paper, if you feel like you need to draw heavier, it's even better for this. You can scribble on this piece of paper, but then you can hold another piece of paper over top of it when it comes to the inking point, and just with a light table underneath or some kind of light source, hold it up against the window and use the illumination from the majestic sun, Corbin. I don't know what you're so interested. Oh, he's looking at himself in the reflection of the Kindle device I have. Narcissist. Anyways. Oh, I'm sorry, Miriam. Miriam's having a trouble with your connection. Okay. Have a great day, Miriam. Thanks for coming out. Sorry that you're having a tricky connection. Stay safe. Be well. Okay, so we'll draw our guy, and we'll use a little bit more pressure this way. So if we're looking at our sketch. Whoops, I'm sorry, I got that in camera. We're looking at our sketch here, and we're just doing a little proportion on our perspectives here. And so we'll have their arm move up as they're looking for an item, and then we get into their hand. If anybody has suggestions for homemade commercials or other fun things they'd like to see me try to approach doing with the video, let me know. So here's their other arm. Yeah. And then the reason I cut it here is that here's where I want to fit some of these items in. Now, before I go any further, there are some of us that have very busy and complicated studios where we put a lot of things in them. Not pointing any fingers or naming any names. You know what I'm talking about. We're talking about ourselves and other people. So I don't believe that's hoarding. Now, this might be part of what might make me start to be Mr. Hoarder guy, is that everything has a use. I'm sure that some people will say that too about whatever their piles of things are. But this isn't any reference to anybody or anything. Let's just get there. Jim says, I need to do a Bob's House of Fish commercial. Okay. Bob's House of Fish is on the list. I'll write it down. Got to do a Bob's House of Fish. What do you mean that's not a real thing? Anyways. Okay, so here's our person. We know their nose is here. We know their eyes are there. And the only reason I'm roughing it out with this complexity is really for you guys. It's a different way of approaching a page for me, but I thought I'd step by step like this because of this request I got. Okay, so here's this person here, and their body is following along the same line as this pile of stuff in perspective. Okay, now as we put some more, items, we'll figure out what they are as we go. Photo albums, newspapers, right? Ashtrays, ephemera. We'll call it ephemera. So we can also put in, just for interest's sake, we can put some different bottles. And because I'm not having them just all static on a line, right? It gives that little bit of extra, play in the box, or the first panel, or the first image, is exciting. It's more exciting. It's more fun. It's more engaging. So it lets the reader's eye move around, and we want that. We want their eyes to move around. Okay, so we'll put some more who's now and what's it's. There's a box. There's some things. Here's some clothes. There's some more things sticking out, and then we'll get into our larger pile. There's a table here that's got just a piece of paper on it. Why use the table? Okay, and then we'll put this pile of whatnot in front of our character. Again, the more stuff that's in this panel, the more it makes the environment seem busy. Okay? So there we go. So we've got a box that's being bent or whatever it is. We'll figure it out. Okay, and then there'll be egg timer on top. Who knows? Who cares? But you can have some additional things in behind. We'll put a bookshelf, and it's just stocked with things. Now, the thing about drawing all of this stuff, it doesn't have to be perfect. The perspective doesn't need to be perfect. All of the takeaway of this thing does not mean it has to be the most immaculate drawing ever said. Barry Windsor Smith drew an adaptation of Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, and it's so fantastically gorgeous. And he did it in beautiful, elegant pen and ink lines, and it's just, here's the chemistry setup, and it's just the most massive chemistry setup you've ever seen in order for him to, Dr. Frankenstein, to reanimate the monster. Everything's in beautiful perspective. Everything's in beautiful scale. That's his style. That's his vibe. It doesn't mean that everybody that might be looking at something like this has to engage in the same level. So, okay, so if we have
a couple of items here in the middle, and this is where the stuff that we talked about yesterday of having a 3-scale tone system in place. So as this person's here in the background, we still have some items between this person and that person. Not just what's immediately behind them, but then there's another dimension of complexity in between, and in order to further separate them. And of course, there's going to be whatnot behind them, picture hanging on a weird angle on the wall, right? Stuff directly in front of it. Maybe it's even holding it up, who knows? But stuff that goes behind them. And right here, we can put a doorway. They came through that doorway. Okay. And, we can top it all off by having the top of the panel follow the ceiling line of the room. Okay, another bookshelf over there. And then up we go. And then I'm going to be, sneaky Pete and push this line inside a little bit from the bookshelf. I mean, I can follow it all the way up. I may yet. I don't know. And then the same on this side. Okay. I mean, you can do, here's a plate on top of this thing, on top of some stuff there, and you can have the panel end by following the shape of that into the roof line. Okay. But we can leave this open because it's going to have text, or it's going to have the title, or it's going to have whatever there anyways. So we've taken a rough scribbled note here, and we've roughed out all the shape and form for that first panel based on the principles that we set up there. Hi, Dan. Welcome aboard. Good to see you. And hi, Jane. How are you? Welcome aboard. Good to see you as well. So what we did for those joining late is we took today's idea, which is I don't know how to describe it, but I'll know it when I see it. We broke down 4 separate ways that we could take this on. We looked at it as maybe it's an interview in a television studio about UFOs. Maybe it's the FBI arresting a little, the stereotypical 1950s grandma on a farm for being an anti-government conspirator. I don't know. Here's one where somebody's just trying to remember where they put something or what they came in looking for something in this room, and they don't remember what it was. The partner checks on them, says, "What are you doing?" And like, "I'm looking for a thing. I don't know." "Well, good luck." "Oh, wait." And he bumps in. "Why can't I find it?" And he bumps into the bookshelf, and boink, oh, wait, there it is. And it drops down onto the ground as he hits the bookshelf. "Yay, I did it." She didn't really do it. And then the one that we're actually developing a little further is somebody in a hoarding apartment is looking for something. So of the 4 suggestions, of the 4 different versions of the suggested idea that we explored in our heads for a quick hot second, this is the one that we chose to develop a little further. So this next stage, if you're doing this, is step by step as you possibly could when drawing a comic, which is generally how I don't work. I just generally going into drawing the panel by panel and all this figuring out what's going on in the noggin, right? So here's our first panel. Here's our text. Our text would then foray over into the next panel where we can introduce our next character. Now, I've got them in a larger pose or in a more open pose so it catches them more of their body in it. I think that as fun as that is, we might want to play with it a little bit and change that up a tiny bit. Jim saying really well put together can also be a little weird. Yeah, that's true. I like your shorts. Hey, Chris, nice shorts. I'll be doing this all day now. Okay, so we can make a slight addition, a slight alteration to our initial idea here by having rather than the person looking directly at from here to here at the back of this person's head and what the actions that they're doing, we can instead have them, exploring the room and looking up and saying, "Hey, what is it you're looking for?" Like, you know, and just have their body engaged with, you know, maybe their discomfort. We can express some discomfort in their form by having, you know, their hands are, you know, up in the sort of, you know, this is great. And their arms are tucked in a little bit. And they're like, where am I? This is gross, right? Maybe the feelings that they have in this environment, whereas this person finds real comfort in having all of these items around them. So but we can draw this person in this sort of a pose. It's not just faces that denote emotion. It's not. It's more than that. It's the full form of the human body tells us so much. If you can not just get the expression on the face for the emotion, but you can have their hands engaged in doing things. If you can have their body, you know, a person backing away has all of these visual cues in it to tell our reader, distancing, as much as a person's face goes, you know, a little bit of a grimace to say, I don't like that, because this could mean, yucky taste in that soup, you know. So having the body be involved in that process and trying to figure out how we can engage that visually in a panel gives us a little bit more. So by drawing this person with their arms drawn in, you know, looking up like, what the heck's above me, gives us something more. I can tell what a person is feeling from a distance, just how they approach. Oh yeah, no, that's exactly true, Jane. And you want to try to encapsulate that in an image. So having our person whose body is not, it's an awkward, it's kind of one of these, yeah, this is great, I love it, it's so fantastic to be here, you know. And then so we have that sense of their form, okay, but in order to continue this visual complexity of the environment that we started in the first place, that we've established as being like a hoarding area, and maybe, I don't know, he's a conspiracy nut, who knows, right? We'll get into that as we go with our story beats, but here is all of this material around them, okay? Now, with this panel, we busted out by drawing in these little things, and to show them breaking out of the panel, there was so much stuff that's all piled up everywhere, right? We could even have some of these papers in a pile peeking out of the panel that way, okay? With this panel, we can do the opposite. And so what I mean by that is we can have the top of the panel, okay, shows the entirety of the environment and space around this person, but in front of this person, our cutaway is all of the random ephemera that's in front of him between this one and this one. We can draw the occasional piece of it just to give the reader a sense of what each of these stacks are, okay? But the rest of it, let me see if I can find, what are they called? Oh yeah, erasers. See, I got this cool stapler or sharpener eraser here. This is really awesome. And it comes with this case on it, but I can't figure out how to use it because, you know, it's got this case, right? But there's an eraser there. I'll use this one instead. Eventually I'll crack that enigma. I know, Corbin, I know I'm being stupid. Okay, so here's these items in front. So we've, instead of having the items become more prominent, we've used the items as negative space. Right? Okay, so including what we know to be this bottle shape that we've established here. Okay, and then we're going to follow, yes, sir, what is it? It's just chilling. It's chilling like a villain. Once again, a word to the wise. If Corbin does text you and ask you for personal information, I'll give it to him. We've already identified this today, haven't we? You have anything to say to people? Are you sorry? He doesn't care. He's a master criminal. You like our San Lupin, huh? Okay. So here is us developing this second panel based on the opposite principle of what we did the first panel with. But the line that it reaches down to here is the same line that we're following across there. Does that make sense? Jane says, definitely follow that. Hiya, Penny. Welcome aboard. Good to see you today. Appreciate everybody stopping in. Okay, so we've taken this and we've assessed the different ways that we can approach it. We have decided on one of the 4 different approaches we had for the suggestion of, I don't know what it is, but I'll know it when I find it. And so we've decided to expand this one. We got a lot done for 1 hour in today, folks. I'm really proud of everybody. Corbin asked for a small loan just till his music takes off. Corbin, did you ask for a small loan? Well, you don't need it. You say sorry next time you talk to Jim. Okay. All right. Let's get back to work, will we? All right, you go do your thing over there. Okay, so we've got our one approach to the panel. We've got a reverse approach to the panel beside it. Now our lines are jagged. We'll tighten those up and make a uniform line to them and a nice clean separation between A and B. So with our third line, okay, we can just go into a proper panel. And the reason that we're going into a proper panel for our initial approach to this is because we're going to have this guy looking back over his shoulder, okay? And then there's his back of his noggin, there's his neck, and then there's the arm. Okay, so we've got the form developed, but what we're doing is, as we're introducing all of this and we're moving these the text across here, this is where we can be really cheeky, because the suggestion for the page is, I don't know what it is, but I'll know it when I see it. And so by closing this panel in, this is a little appreciative of nod to the person that gave the suggestion. Will. The person's name is Will. Let me write Will down in this. Will. There it is. I can read my own writing for a second. Sorry, Will. So this panel includes that text. I don't know what it is, but I'll know it when I see it. Okay? So now that we've got that, and I'll hold this up just 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. We've differentiated this as being a solid panel from these 2 open face panels, which draws a little more stable attention to it when a person is reading this and assessing it. It's on an unconscious level, right? So there, we've got our key point pushed in the narrative. Jane says, just ask your sugar daddy Christopher that money, Corbin. Hey, give him bad ideas. He does anyways. Hey, you want to go and buy me a brick of gold? I don't know why he's asking for that. He's got designs. I need to finance a revolution somewhere. It's cool. Yeah, we have fun. I'm having a lot of fun with doing these videos and doing these different explorations. And thank you, everybody, for your encouragement. I appreciate it. But James suggests I do a commercial for Bob's House of Fish. Okay, so the last thing that we had scribbled down in advance on this approach to the page, to the idea, was to have this person, our second character. So we want to reintroduce the fact of reversal, okay? If we've got character B, B is right here, A is right here, okay? B is right here, A is at the back of B. So one of the things that we can do is turn B to a different direction, okay, and have them with their one arm drawn up in the same sort of, we protect our bodies when we're uncomfortable. It's a human characteristic that we have, that we protect our core, and we protect our important parts. brain, heart, business. And so that's why when people get scared, oftentimes they don't go wah and spread their arms and legs out wide like they're doing a cartwheel. They do more of a wah kind of a thing. So we can have that tight body pose continue with this. But because they become a little more acclimatized to the space, we can have their second arm out. Do you like that? That's how. That's the only way to get scared today. Okay, so they can have their hands as though they're holding a object. Like, do you want me to help you? Right? Oftentimes, in a lot of projects, there are photos that exist of visual storytellers that they will draw these or they will take these photographs and act out some of the things that they have to draw. So there's all kinds of ridiculous, incriminating shots that people take of themselves in crazy poses in order for them to then study that image and go, oh, okay, I get it. I get a better understanding of it now. So me, I act it out. I don't take the pictures. I think, wow. I go, oh yeah, okay. The one arm turns the angle and the other arm points straight up. Right? Right, Corbin? I'll lose my headphones. Anyways, so we'll push this hand back a little bit because it doesn't want to touch the yuck. But there's, I can help you clean, right? And then we can have this person, again, we're seeing a back shot of them here as they're looking in a different place now and rummaging through other materials. But I'm going to show you a sneaky thing that I've just done. So moving across here, if you follow with a pencil, movement of action, it's kind of doing this. Okay, if you go shelf, shoulder, 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 up into this shoulder here, right? It's a smiley face, right? This isn't necessarily something that I plan out. It's just after a while, you just sort of subconsciously start doing things. Okay, so we've got this movement across the page. Remember I said Western media starts here and it ends here. And so we want to get the viewer's eye to go there, come back to here, and move across to there. That's what we want them to do. Now, if it's large single panels that move across, or large vertical panels that move across a page, you want it to just get from here to here, or from here to here, just across, right? But in this case, with two tiers, we want it to do this elaborate Z. So what I've managed to figure out is this smiley face directional movement, right? And that at the same time, though, these shapes here pull the eye down that way. Because whether they're talking up here or not, you're looking at this object with the hand below it that's going like that. Sorry, there we go, like this. So your eye is going, here's the object. Focus your attention right here between this object and this hand. And that hand's telling you to go that way. So your eye goes that way. And so that allows you to take it to the next space. And then once again, we've got all of the things and all of the items piled up, and we can do some directional movement with those, in our panel, and have them bleed out of the panels if we want. We've got that ability to choose that. Okay. Or we just have it a static panel on the side, and allow it to continue. The box that we have here, that works as well because it's not a remarkable physical change. Like we've got remarkable physical changes from this box case. This box case standard rectangular, and then we continue standard rectangular. Ideally, when we move down to here, we want a lid on this box too. And the reason for that is it doesn't, if you have a whole bunch of intricate, shapy business going on the top of this panel, then these two will start to interact and work together. You don't want that. You want this to be separated from here. The physical action here tends to be very, very vertical and not horizontal. And so that lets your eye move across it in an organized way. But the text, which we've left room for at the top, and how it moves along to here is what's carrying your eye across the page. So, because you need to read the words. What do them words say? So, okay, so we've got more business going on. We can draw. So we look back at our first drawing and we think about some of these piles and things that were kicking around in the space, and we think about them from a different perspective, and we draw those in, and we draw, here's a bookshelf that's in behind, and it's in the room, and then there's doodah here, and who knows, there's some more doodah behind it. All of that. This is your breakdowns, your roughs. There's one more step that you can take on top of this and do really tight pencils. Because generally your roughs are more this than they are this. Okay? If you're going at it from this sort of stage by stage by stage approach. So, but you also get to see what the camera wall is, what they were facing this entire time as they were talking. So, big window, curtains, heavy curtains on it. Let's have something hang in front of the curtains, right? Again, more and more ideas of items and objects around there to give a more contained, crowded feeling, okay? And I've gone a number of times with a bunch of people to go and help dig out people that are having challenges with hoarding. And so I have no negative judgments about it. It's simply a thing we do. But so I'm also not representing anybody here in this page, but it's just a reality. Okay. So we're going to draw some of these piles. Now, remembering there's piles separating these two here. And so we'll try to put those in as well. And again, it's climbing boxes like we've got right here with paper sitting on top that hangs over the lip from the forward view. Okay, so we're just exploring this once more. And, you know, this is books or whatever. It doesn't matter in the moment. But you can see how confined that our characters are. Okay, I'll hold that up so we'll see the top. There's the top row. Okay, and it's just, you know, you just grab a sheet of typewriter paper. Maybe that's easier to see without, you know, this other blank paper behind it. But so you can see how we've developed it a little bit farther from our initial ideas. Okay, but we've added visual complexity to it as we explore these ideas more. And we've developed an awful lot more that we're visually saying, not just as complexity, but there's a lot more that we're visually saying with the way that the bodies are moving with one another. Okay? So, when I laid this out, I didn't develop this part further, because we can do that now. It was really just trying to capture this initial idea in a quick way. And I felt like I'd captured the initial idea by, you know, as I was scribbling out these 4 different perspectives of how we could do this page from the idea. I don't know how to describe it, but I'll know it when I see it. Right? So just to go back again, sorry for those that get bored by this part, but the first idea we did was like a television studio interview about UFOs, maybe. The second one was FBI guys coming to arrest you know, a little old tiny grandma on a farm for being anti-government. She's going to take down Washington, right? Then there's the one that we're utilizing here, looking for something, 2 people in a hoarding apartment. And then the last one was a person walking into a room and trying to remember the thing they're looking for. And the other person saying, what are you looking for? I'm looking for this. I don't know. And they walk out and the person bumps into a shelf and there's the object. Ha ha, I win. So we chose this one. So we only roughed up this much. Each of these things, you can see where I left a big gap there. You can see where I left a big gap there for exploration as we're doing the page. You can see how I've done that here. This one I took us through it to its conclusion just to show you that it's not like you're just leaving all this up without walking through the idea. But, you know, in this case, I want to do UFOs. I wrote UFOs. That's the fun part. That's just fun to draw whatever the person's describing in this elaborate, hey, it was incredible, it was huge in the studio. And, you know, what the lady is responsible for being arrested for is here and here. And that's the fun exploration again, about not just pigeonholing myself. It's going to be a bank robbery at the start, because I'm writing it and illustrating it. But we've left room here. We explored this the whole way because we needed to figure out this, what is the thing and where does he find the thing? Nothing here. And the reason for nothing here is that we're going to do it quick now. So the person says, you want me to help you find it? Now we can continue this exploration that we're on now, which is as much about the sense of being enclosed, a little bit of anxiety and tension. You want to think about that characters in that scenario. So a little bit of anxiety and tension in the space, and he's seeking an object. The other one wants to help them in an uncomfortable environment for them, but they don't even know what the object is. So what do I do? So you can draw, now we can explore this frustration between A and B, because we've thought about our characters' personalities and motivations, right? So if we tighten in on person A's face, right? There's B there, there's A there. We continued, we turned the camera around in this process and then did a reverse shot from our first shot. Okay, so now we're going to cut back to A, because we've already got a break from this row to that row. So we can just make a big leap and just immediately flip the camera again. And so we've got person A, and I'm just drawing the most basic face. Unhappy, sad face. But people talk with their hands. So he can put his hands up, okay, and say, look, I know how to I don't know how to describe it, but I'll know it when I find it. And they're just saying it with their hands like this, because in this moment, they're thinking a lot with their hands and wanting to get hands on an object. So here's our hands here. Okay, now we can put the other person in behind them in this shot, but we got to consider where the text is going to go. Okay, look, blah, blah, blah. Like we've already said, I don't know how to describe it, but I'll know it when I find it. You know, but just say, look, frustration, right? And just let me think for a second, something like that, right? Let me think. So we have to remember and realize that when we're drawing these other scenes and characters in behind, that you might not see them once you go over them with text. I am a firm proponent of draw the whole scene, draw the whole image, and then put the text over top. And whether it's in learning Photoshop to do it that way, or whether it is writing it on another piece of paper with a little word balloon around it that you cut out with scissors and then put down with a piece of masking tape. I don't care, but draw the whole image. And the reason I say that is that in the course, unless you have a completely preset script, when you go to the next stage of putting the text down on this page and finding an interesting way to keep the viewer's eye moving across the page, knowing that these things are going to get covered up. So now our eye has done this, following that text. Okay? Look, just let me think. And so by breaking these hands out of the panel, just kind of pushes that sense of isolation there. It gives a sense of confinement because his hands are, locked up here, right? you know, maybe not. I don't know. It's all how people register it. You know, and so now we can have this person B again, be responsive to, or even better still, rather than jumping from the back and forth that we have up top, we can go back to A, who is now using these same hands and trying to describe it physically. Okay, with his, you know, he's got his one hand up, his other hand down below, and so he's sitting here like so, and, you know, now we can draw some of the whatnot in the space around him for that sense of, you know, confinement. Now, this can either be an open face panel, or, you know, we can bring it to an emphasis point for our reader by just coloring that out. Like just a flat color background. I suggest a darker color for the sense of enclosure. But if we blacken that out, because, you know, let me think. And then as he's describing it, you know, those balloons are going to go over it anyway. So it's not going to be a fully black smudge on your page. Excuse me a second. What are you yelling at me about? Oh, okay. All right. My phone is saying, hey, wrap it up, Jack. Okay, so here we are for that. And so here he says it's kind of like this. You know, it looks it's like this, and it's got a face, and then the other person can hold it up in their hand. You know, and it's teddy bear. I don't care what it is. We'll figure that out as we get into a more finished thing. So we'll just draw his bear from his childhood. Okay? And so as this person holds this up, we know their arm's going to go here, and their arm goes over here. And they're looking at it with a face of, you mean this? Right? Because again, frustration, confinement, disgust, all of those feelings that our character B that we've started to try to intimate into the character. So when they find a thing, it's like, we've been looking for this. And, it, you know, you'd be hard pressed to find something miraculous at that point if you're character B, because you've already got an assumption off the top that it's not, you know, I don't know what we're looking for. Who knows? And if he goes, gold bar, ha-ha, and the other person goes, damn, it's a gold bar. But more than likely, it's going to be a goofy thing. So we can have a second hand pointing at, you mean this? Okay. And then we'll just put a solid confining block on that one. And then a celebratory, yes! Make them arms more interesting and have them not just going diagonally like this. How about that? Jane says, it's probably a Pez dispenser. That's fantastic. There's a guy in the city here that did, you know, it was like, oh, here's the history of Pez, and we're setting up a Pez museum. And I'm like, you know, there is a Pez museum, right? You got a Pez collection. You're not setting up a Pez museum. You're setting up a collection. It's going to be a museum. I'm like, yeah, all right. Pez made a Pez museum. What are you doing? You're just collecting Pez. Okay, so here's our character. Again, we don't want to interfere with the panel up above. Okay, so, you know, there's maybe we foreshorten the arm a little bit. Just change the angle slightly to lower the hand down, because we want that clear association of all these lines that we've put here that push the arrow down this way, right? That way. So here's our last panel of yes. And so just for interest's sake, okay, let's knock over some things as he says yes. And just have some things look like they're clearly destabilized and falling as he's gone, yeah, and he hits things. So just because it's fun. All right, and everything crashes and falls to the floor. So, we can push it farther by having things falling out of the panel, okay, to just give an even more heightened sense of these things are all destabilizing and crashing around them. Why not do that? Have it go right to the bleed edge of the page. It doesn't matter. We can have it, this panel sit over top as all this stuff crashes in behind it. Yes, sir? Just sit down. Here. Yeah, just sit down. It'll be a few more minutes. Okay, so that sort of gives end of the exaltation up above. And we don't even have to have a top of a panel. We can just have it be him standing around all this and collapsing things around him from him knocking him over. And there we go. So there's our resolution of the moment. But by exploring the page and by exploring the different ideas on it, what it gives us is a chance to, one, come up with a story approach that we're going to enjoy doing, right? We've investigated 4 completely separate directions for how to do the story page, okay? And so taking these 4 separate directions and then picking one of them, okay? And that's only because we're not having to work specifically from a story point, other than just the suggestion of the incidents of, I don't know how to describe it, but I'll know it when I see it. Leaves fairly open for interpretation, as you can see with the 4 different approaches. But picking one of those and attacking it, because we're not having to work specifically to a script, specifically to some kind of editorial constraint beyond just the suggested sentence, it leaves us free to experiment and free to explore and free to play and free to think about a lot of these understandings that we have of the rules and a lot of this appreciation that we have of how to lead the reader through the composition and how to most key important factor, tell the story with the reader so that ideally, hopefully, they're getting somewhat close to the story that we're trying to tell. Because at the end of the day, as sophisticated and perfect and absolutely transcendent you think your script or your illustrations might be, step right in. It has nothing to do with how the reader interprets it. And when I say reader, I'm not just talking about textual reader. I'm also talking about, the visual reading of it as well, because sequential media, that's it. Literally just to climb across. You're a maniac. And so the text and the visual elements, you're reading both of those with your eyes. So Dan says, his arms like Rocky. Well, there you go. Hey, how you doing? On top of the stairs, whatever, But yeah, that yeah, and it hits everything around them, because we've established over and over again in these panels how confined they are and how surrounded they are by things. And the moment that the thing is found, big bang boom, right? Everything gets knocked down around them. So after this, the next stage would be one of two. You can either get busy with an eraser and maybe a different colored pencil, or go straight to an ink pen, and then you go over this drawing with either another sheet of paper laid over it and a light source. Let's see if I can do this in reverse. So that the light, no, you're not really going to see it. And I'm not pulling a light table out to do it. Just because it's buried for the moment. I should have been prepared. I'm sorry. But you either can just work and clean all these panels up and clean up all your lines and use a ruler. That's for Janet. Or you can lay another fresh piece of paper on top and draw a more, finished composition. Using this as your template underneath, using your rulers on the new piece of paper and doing all that refinement. Either just in pencil to have a nice tight drawing if you don't feel comfortable about doing it in ink. You can scan pencils, put them in the computer, and switch whatever colored line or whatever pencil line you're using into black. And there's a couple of different ways to do that I'm not going to go through right now. But you can find all kinds of different ways to do that on the interwebs, on YouTube and the like. Or you can go over your penciled images with a pen. You can skip from this to just drawing in pen and filling all that key information in with the pen. It's up to you. It depends on where you are in your drawing journey, right? And then after that, of course, comes the coloring. If you want to color this whole thing. Maybe you want to throw colors down on this environment and then put the inks over it. It's your image, it's your drawing. But we've taken our suggestion of, I don't know how to describe it, but I'll know it when I see it. We've come up with 4 different approaches to how to do it. We've chosen approach number C, stands for Chris, and then broke it down in its complete form. And in a way that is more than likely exactly the size. Like there's not going to be any real scale shifting going on here for the size of panels and stuff. This works pretty clearly. I've had a lot of fun doing this. This is a fun, sometimes it's fun to just step back a stage and just plonk the whole thing down on a piece of paper. And there we go. There we got at it. Here's the finished page as I want to bring it to its completion, absolute completion, where it's colored, it's lettered, it's inked, it's all ready for showing to you on the interwebs. This is page 300 of this year for me. I have a number of pages that we're putting up on Patreon. It literally is a case of just having to sit down, scan the ding-dong things, fill out the things I need to fill out as I post it on Patreon. But I've got another 6 pages I gotta just, that I've done, I just have to put on. It's the weekend pages that I don't generally show people. But sitting down and doing some maths are tricky. And figuring out with the amount of time that I have left for the year, will I hit 356 pages done with you guys here in the afternoons, the daily page idea, by the end of the year? So, or should I be doing a bunch of extra things to catch up, like do a couple pages a day in this process? But I've got other things I have to do. So I'm going to stay true to what we're doing and just complete, hopefully, 356 pages by the end of the year. That's my objective goal. And I think I've got 61 days left for the year. So I think we can do it. Accounting for, I'm going to be doing this day and doing this that day. Just for people's information, November the 12th is a Sunday, 2 o'clock at Gallery downtown here in London. I'll be doing what we just did now in an art gallery, and with a bunch of people there. But we're also setting up to do it live online as well, so that there'll be a special one of these things on Sunday, November 12th at 2 p.m. EST. And that's what was at the end of the Corbin video that I showed earlier. So there is the Eventbrite link in the postings that I just did recently of the latest Corbin and his artist studio human. I can't remember what it was called, and he's walked away. So look for that connection if you're in the region, and please feel free to attend. But for those of you online, please feel free to join in. And there'll be a person who will be reading whatever engagements are being said. And I'll have that link provided for everybody before the event for where to go to watch that. I'm not sure if it's just going to be here or if it's going to be someplace else. So, but then you can engage in a chat and they'll tell me what's being said while I'm scrambling to do whatever I need to do within the confines of the typical hour and a half we spend doing this. So, yeah, this has been good. I got to get back to it, get some stuff done. But in the meantime, yeah, this page will be done for tomorrow. And I may yet at some point explore these additional 3 approaches to the same story idea, because we've already broken them all down. You know, there's some fun exploration that we can have there. Bearing in mind that I do this kind of idea generating thing pretty much for most of the pages that we're doing here from the suggestions that people give. So always, please feel free to put in a suggestion. If you've been hanging out for a while and still haven't made a suggestion yet, if when you feel comfortable, do so. If you don't want to put it in the comments or the chat, feel free to DM me. All my social stuff is, you can connect to me there and make a suggestion there if that makes people feel more comfortable. But it's kind of fun to take a notion or an idea, like, I don't know how to describe it, but I'll know it when I see it, and try to figure out some kind of little story from that, some kind of little narrative project for us to do textually and visually in a sequential format as a comic, you know, just for so that people don't think I'm being hoity-toity and don't ever use the word comic. But it's an enjoyable process, and I'm having a great time, and I really appreciate everybody being involved and taking part in that process. And I hope you like the video stuff that I'm trying to scramble into the day as well in our scheduling. We're having some fun. Lori's done one, I've done one, or 2. I don't know where we're at now, but I'm enjoying it. I hope people are okay with it as well. It's fun to just toss ideas around. It generates even more. That's exactly true, Jane. I mean, you cannot help yourself. But once you crack that margarine container lid on your imagination, right? There's a lot of butter in there. I guess that doesn't work. I guess it'd have to be margarine. It doesn't matter. Once you crack the lid, there's so much inside there, and there's such an amount of ideas that people have in general from their experiences and their associations in their head, that just by somebody sitting across the room from you and saying, tuba, as ridiculous as that is, tuba just made you think of something. Tuba, whether you visualized a tuba, you thought about a tuba, you've had some kind of experience with a tuba, you feel threatened by tubas, whatever it is, just the association of anything makes our imagination go. It's inevitable. All right. Jane says, get a little wacky. It's fun. Yeah, everything's experimental. Get mental. There we go. So, Joy. Thank you, Jane. That's fantastic. Okay, so that's it for me today. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming and hanging out. I'll be back tomorrow for Too Much Fun Thursdays. I don't know. I don't have a name for every day. But how's that work? Because it's Fun Time Friday. I'll have to come up with something for Thursday. But thanks, everybody, for coming in and joining in. And always feel free to take part in the process. It's a ball. 2 o'clock EST tomorrow afternoon. I look forward to seeing people there. In the meantime, bye for now. Now, where did you go?